And we are joined for part 2 of the Middletons. That sounds like a new sitcom.
It is, yeah, the Middletons. Yeah.
The sequel.
Can you imagine the Middletons family portrayed in a sitcom? What would that look like?
Yeah, who would play Brian? Who would play Brian?
Who would play Brian in a sitcom?
Well, Woody Harrelson.
Hey,
that is it.
Hey, I'm loving it. Woody Harrelson. Man, that is perfect.
Oh, my goodness.
He's going to love I said that.
Yeah. I feel some new things coming up on the Facebook page.
That's it.
Now.
Yep.
Right.
I can see it now.
You can do really good things with AI now.
So before we get, we went through the, and we got a lot of views on the after we did the interview the last time. And the biggest thing I got, what people were talking about, is they learned a lot of things they didn't even know about your family, about how y'all got here and things like that. So that was good. But we ran out of time. We were never able to get into that point from where y'all got here and got started to where we are now. We've talked, and it's kind of been our theme about, you had to come in and change the culture, because I did many seasons of Tisch County girls basketball that were 4-27.
Right.
And that's tough. And so it takes a lot to change the culture. And we've had former players and Coach Riddick, and we've seen a lot of players. And that's what they talked about. So from your side, tell us what it took, like from behind the scenes for y'all and for Brian to actually kind of change the culture for girls basketball.
I can remember Brian coming in from that first practice, and Morgan and Megan Perkins were here, and all I really knew is that they had only won 4 games the year before. And Brian came in and he said, "There's potential," because we were expecting. You couldn't dribble, you couldn't, but he was like, there's potential there. And so he automatically knew after that first practice, that they were going to be able to do something. And I think that first season, the girls won 10 games, which they celebrated that double-digit win just as much as,
almost like winning the state.
Right, it's like winning a division championship or something. So even that first group, they just immediately bought in, and, it's done nothing but improve every year. And I can remember every year at the athletic banquet, Brian always tells the seniors, you left the program better than you found it, and he has been able to say that every single year for 8 years. So that's a testament to the girls and just them buying into the system and putting in the work.
We one of the things I talked about, Fred and I, during when we eat supper tonight is, okay, you've been a coach, right? And so how many times, what's a situation where you're sitting there and you're watching the game from your secluded place, and you just want to go run up to Brian and go, what are you doing? Do you ever have one of those moments where you're thinking, what are you doing?
Now, y'all know I do, because I run down there and tell
That's why we want to hear it.
It's usually something where, I'm not sure if he realizes it. You do realize that Balin has 3 fouls, or you do realize the other night when we were playing Tupelo, the Norfleet girl, at one point I said, Brian, how many points does she have? And he was like, I think 12. Well, she had like 15 or 16. So just little stuff like that as an assistant coach, that was always kind of my job to do. Are you sure you see this part? So, and sometimes I just can't help it.
Yeah.
I just have to run down there and say it.
Well, the first time you were on, one thing Brian told me, he went back and listened to it, and he said, at least you didn't start coaching on the air.
Right. Right. I do want people to know that, I'm not the annoying wife. A lot of times he will look up and, I would like to think he values what I put
Absolutely,
in the game, so.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, I know some people probably think, I wish she would sit over there and shut up. But
that's the thing. Obviously, I've seen you before. You're the biggest cheerleader, right?
Right.
And obviously, when things are going crazy, how hard is it not to engage yourself with the officials when you're sitting down there and you're close and things are getting heated? There's a couple of bad calls.
How many times have you engaged
the officials?
No. One good thing is I have always worked at the same school as Brian.
Good. Yeah.
And so I have this accountability that I can't just, if I get too crazy, I put my job at risk.
You don't want to be ejected.
No, right.
Well,
but I do, even if I sit on the floor, the officials will tell you can't yell from the floor. So if you want to yell, you got to sit in the bleachers. So
right. Well, there you go.
Some games I'll go sit in the bleachers so I can yell a little bit more. That Beyonce was so loud. But yeah, if I need to yell, I'll move up to the bleachers. But I try to, I try
wasn't
to lay
there a
off of them.
time at Belmont where you were sitting in the bleachers, but you were like basically the first bleacher on the floor and got something with the officials going?
Well, and he actually apologized to me about that this year. He did. A student had said something inappropriate to him, and he turned around and looked at me and said, and that's why people don't like giving. I can't remember.
I remember.
I can't
That's
remember
why
what he said.
Tishomingo County has the worst fans in basketball.
Yes. And so,
I remember.
And I very politely said, well, sir, there's the principal and the athletic director right up there if you would like to go talk to them. Yeah. But he did. He grabbed me this year before the Belmont game and said, I said something really ugly to you and I need to apologize for it. So he made it right.
And we know exactly who it is.
Yeah. We were talking to Brian before during the boys JV game. We're just sitting here chit-chatting. We were obviously kind of just going over the whole game with Tupelo on Saturday.
Right.
And he kind of talked about what his weekend looked like. But you guys had a great weekend. He got to baptize your son at church. I know that was an amazing thing.
Yes.
And he said, I got up Sundays thinking, I'm not going to watch this game today. It's not going to affect me. But he said Monday was a different story.
Right. Well, I asked him Sunday, I said, are we going to watch that game? Because I knew they had practice Monday. And he said, not today. So, but Monday we did watch it. And Brian and Balin and I all sat in. And Balin had to go ahead and get her earful. And then and she cried. And I said, you're going to have to toughen up before practice tomorrow.
Now we're going back to part one of your interview again.
She cried again. But we got to toughen her up before she gets out in the real world. But so then at practice yesterday, he was going around and he was telling all the girls, which Balin told me that he started practice off with, these are the things that I should have done better as a coach.
Right.
So he held his accountable too. But when he got to Balin, he said, now she's already heard some of this, but I'm going to go back through.
Yeah.
But,
that's the bad part.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to hear it at home and at school.
Yeah.
One thing we talked about and one thing he talked about is it seemed like the girls really responded well tonight after you look at that game. Even Fred and I commented watching them warm up. It was a seriousness on their face, even warming up.
Nobody was
Absolutely.
smiling.
It was just, and then obviously that transition out to the game where they just came in and took over immediately. And one thing I noticed right out of the gate is we were much more aggressive tonight.
Right.
It seemed like, which he seemed like that was something he really emphasized.
It was,
Yeah.
and I know he talked to Chloe about rebounding, and I think she had 9 or 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
He got on all of them about deflections, and Meg was just everywhere with
Yes,
deflections. And Claire Ray played unbelievable tonight.
Wow.
Just offense, defense. She was
Well,
a gnat, a bulldog.
She looked for her shot tonight.
She did.
Yeah.
And she is percentage-wise probably the best shooter on the team, but she's such a strong point guard that, she doesn't always look for it. But we're against the teams that, know to shut Meg down, shut Kaisley down.
Yeah.
We're going to have to have
Yeah.
Claire step
Yeah.
up, and she did great tonight looking for it.
Yeah. Okay, in 60 seconds or less. You're an administrator at Aiken Middle School.
Yes, sir.
Kind of just talk about your role there. What's your how do you look at that? Do you enjoy your job? That kind of thing.
I do enjoy my job. Crystal Smith is the principal there, and when we first started, I feel like we were like opposites attract. I had my positives were her negatives, and my negatives were her positives. So I've learned so much from her. I think I've kind of loosened her up a little bit too. But I just love it there. I love being the assistant principal. I don't know. It's kind of like I get to be the fun aunt. I get to do some of the fun things. I don't
good
have
cop,
to.
bad cop.
Yes, I don't. I'm not at the top of the food chain, so some of the bigger issues I'm learning still. I learn a lot every day, but I just love it. I was worried that I was not going to have as close of a relationship with the kids because I'm not in there with my 90, 100 students. But that hasn't been the case.
You got
I have
all them
everybody,
kids, yeah,
right?
which is
right.
That's a good thing.
I wasn't sure what I thought about 5th and 6th graders, but the 5th graders are so sweet.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really, really. I love my job. I love it.
Well, like I told you last time, I think the last thing I said was Tishomingo County is blessed to have the Middletons, and we're glad you folks are here, your family, and we hope you're here for a long time.
Well, thank you so much. We love it here.
Yeah.
We love it.
Well, all right.